I think we have to broaden the view and really look at the design and installing the system with a maximum performance, taking into consideration refrigerant, thermodynamics, and energy efficiency. Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Hello again. And yes, as I just mentioned, the weather is rather beautiful here, but it's cold in Vienna, Austria, where I am right now and where the UNIDO headquarters are. I actually would still prefer to be with you all on one of the beautiful islands of the Philippines and have this meeting in person, as it was originally planned. But well, everything is a bit different this year. And I hope, which is the most important, that you're all safe and healthy. And yes, at least this gives us the opportunity to reach many more people from around the globe and even save some CO2 emissions and some travel costs. So we try to see it positive. And therefore, also big thank you to the Atmosphere organizers that they have developed this beautiful and I think very engaging online conference, and that our project, the Global Partnership for Improving the Food Cold Chain in the Philippines, has its dedicated sessions in this format. I would also like to thank our project partners, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, DENR, as well as TESDA and CHECO. So although our physical home and training center, the Cold Chain Innovation Hub, could not be installed, we are very happy that we have launched the virtual hub. So please come and visit the CCI-Hub.org. I think if you're live right now, the link should be just under me, depending where you have your window. And find under the Knowledge tab our first technical training videos, webinars, expert interviews that will grow now from every month from now on. Because continuous and up-to-date training for all stakeholders involved in the food cold chain is crucial to make it a success. And therefore, before we go into the technical details of the training and in the training session and what is available in the region, which we will learn after, I would like to take a step back with you as an introduction to this training session and look at the reasons behind training and what this is actually good for in the context of refrigeration and the food cold chain. I guess that most people and you might agree and also know that training is important. But the feedback that we receive in our project is that it's rather seen as a burden, something that costs a lot and is not really available. I only have a few minutes today, but I would like to give you at least the first idea of the real value and impact of training and how training can actually create a win-win situation for both the environment and the economy. So the purpose of this presentation is also to share our experience and approach here at the UNIDO Montreal Protocol Division, working with hundreds of capacity building projects in the area of refrigeration and air conditioning over the past 30 years already. During the course of the presentation, I will therefore also mention a few UNIDO examples and, if I may, at the end, some recommendations for governments and also companies if you agree with our more integrated and holistic approach. Thank you, by the way, also to Professor Toby Peters, who you have maybe heard yesterday as a keynote speaker in the beginning of the conference, and who has also helped UNIDO to putting our technical experience into strategy that I will share with you now. That's why, enough intro of the intro, let's get started. So what guides us and what we believe is important when defining a long-term strategy for training is that we have the goal to develop the culture and the tools for a dynamic, lifelong learning framework. Only then we can ensure to create the trained workforce to support the optimal use of resources to deliver access to cooling for all, thus reducing the food waste and avoiding the overheating of the planet. This is the underlying principle for all our work, as well as the SDGs, related to training and capacity building at UNIDO. Therefore, we're also applying this in the food cold chain project, and it will be a crucial part in our trainings in the virtual and physical cold chain innovation hub. So, but why is training now important for the food cold chain, and what impact does it have on the environment? Well, when we look at the different refrigeration installations and systems along the food cold chain, you can basically break it down to 6 key factors for an efficient cold chain. First, choice of refrigerant, very obvious, which is depending on the size and type of system, can typically more or less influence efficiency by, let's say, on average 5 to 10%, which is substantial. Second, the equipment design and selection of components. That's also pretty clear. Then also very important is the proper installation, meaning using the right components and setup, taking into consideration practices of the client, location, etc. Then, number 4, proper and regular maintenance operations, refrigerant charge, cleaning of coil and filters, and so on. Then, also important and often not looked at and something easy to influence is reducing of cooling load. We have, for example, a beautiful project in Jordan where we installed with the national suppliers there a CO2 transcritical refrigeration rack. And we were already impressed by the energy efficiency results. But then upon our first visit after a few months of the installation running, we saw that all the refrigeration cases were completely packed, fully loaded with these apple juice and fruit juice Tetra packs, which first of all, don't even need cooling. And secondly, even before they put them into the fridges, they were stored in the plain sun, heating up, and then directly warm as they were in the refrigeration cases. So then we changed that together with the end user who didn't really know and wasn't aware of these things that you can do. And in the end, it already saved a few more energy percentages. And last but not least, efficient cooling construction, and efficient building and construction models. So if we zoom in now to the proper installation and maintenance factors that I just mentioned, who is responsible for that part? Yes, exactly. The engineers and service technicians who need to be trained in the right way. Because see the impact of servicing on energy efficiency. Under the Montreal Protocol framework, it was recognized by the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel, TEP, that the impact of proper installation, maintenance, and servicing on the efficiency of equipment and systems is considerable over the lifetime of these systems, with the additional cost being minimal. Appropriate maintenance and servicing practice can curtail up to 50% reduction in performance and maintain the related performance over the lifetime. So improving servicing, which includes installation, maintenance, and so on, can be used to achieve energy efficiency as a result of better practice. At the same time, skills and capacity building can be value add for countries, both in terms of creation of jobs and new companies, SMEs, and meeting climate targets. So now a question to you. What do you think, a little bit of quiz time, what do you think is the economic and climate impact of poor installation and commissioning and lack of maintenance of the cooling equipment along the food cold chain? I would say you can type it in the Q&A box, but maybe that's a little bit too slow with the translation of the internet. So just make it up in your mind. You can just tell it in front of your computer. So what happens money-wise or in regards to the environment when you don't detect a leak? If you don't clean the fans, if you don't use the right components? I guess one answer that I heard out there is exactly increased operating costs. It continues with increased emissions, CO2 emissions, direct and indirect. The impact of downtime, lack of performance, you should not forget. Also, I think I heard that somewhere from Manila, reduced component and system life. Also an aspect that's important, safety and health impacts for the workers and the people around the systems. And last but not least, losing confidence in the products and brands. Just to give you an example to make it maybe a little bit more visible, I have a table here with effects of proper maintenance on rated energy efficiency. So, and I was playing around with these funny effects of PowerPoint. So yes, we're all in a lockdown, right? So you have a lot of time. Well, if you see, for example, some of the improvement measures like appropriate refrigerant and oil charge, it's a very easy thing to do. You just have to check periodically and refill up to the recommended levels. So the maintenance cost is very low, like what you have to pay for it, and the outcome can be up to 50% of energy efficiency effect on the rated energy efficiency. Then these other things are air circulation into the condenser, which you can check rather easily, also up to 25%. Of course, this always depends a bit on the situation, and these are a bit the extreme cases, but even if you save 5% of energy, this definitely has already an impact on the money that you have at the end of the month. Maybe to continue also very quickly, I think you know these facts, but maybe also to see on a graph compiled together the impact of refrigerant loss, meaning having a leak in the system. So once the leak starts, you still have a bit of time because the system is also, has a certain buffer before anything happens, but already the efficiency reduces. And the more it leaks, the less refrigerant there is in the system, the more the efficiency will be reduced. There will be additional energy costs. Also, the refrigerant loss costs something. And then the next step, it can be the system cannot longer support the cooling load. It might break down, parts break down, you have to repair them. And then at the end, you have downtime, you lose business, and so on. So, and this can be just resolved rather easily by checking it on a regular basis from a service technician who is hopefully trained well and knows about these things. So now to sum up a little bit, what is the positive impact of training on the environment and the economy? And we mean ideally training for all involved stakeholders, meaning the service technicians, yes, but also for the engineers involved in consulting and installing, the end users, even the financing institutions and the policy experts. So what do we see here? You can see an overview also with these little icons that I put together, and also, of course, depends a bit on the situation, but I mean, reduced energy will be always the result, and this saves money and also CO2 emissions. Then, of course, the reduced leaks, and this is just the first level of definition for direct and indirect CO2 emissions. Then we also come to the next level, which is also very important, is better system performance, and then reliable and constant cooling, which is crucial for certain produce, and this, especially in the food cold chain, and this reduces the food loss. Then also improved safety by eliminating risks, better temperature control and thermal comfort. Also, don't forget, lower and deferred capital expenditure for replacement and repair costs by extending the useful life of the equipment. And also rather important, especially for the governments, but this also trickles down to the companies, compliance with regulation, the minimum efficiency requirements, safety, Montreal Protocol, and UNFCCC obligations that the countries have. So after seeing that, and I hope you agree with the approach and also with the examples that I gave, I would like to give a few recommendations that we could maybe see from that. And we can further discuss, of course, what you think about it. So in the Philippines, like in basically all countries around the globe, the different degrees, there is still a lack of awareness about the potential energy savings from better training, for maintenance and servicing, but also for the end users and policy experts, and thus the impact on the climate and the economy this has. The different sectors involved in the food cold chain usually lack mechanisms to access and disseminate up-to-date information on alternatives to HCFCs and HFCs as they develop. In general, there is relatively low awareness concerning the use of energy-efficient products and refrigerants such as CO2, hydrocarbons, and ammonia is already rather known in the industrial sector, including also the technical performance and safety issues. So more training, awareness raising, technical education for service technicians, system engineers, end users, policy experts, and all the other stakeholders involved in the food cold chain is needed. But please always with a more holistic view, more of a system approach, and questions that governments and also companies should ask themselves, or things that they should take into considerations are, for example, are we measuring the system performance and capturing all the efficiency gains, or simply the primary component? We can maybe even use the heat that comes and that would be lost for some hot water, sanitary water, for example, and so on. Seeing the system as or seeing each device as part of the system. Also, try to create a clear economic win-win-win relationship between the country, the manufacturers, just get distracted by the chat information. So I think I'm running out of time, but I hurry up, another 2 minutes. So clear between country, manufacturers, service providers, service users, and cooling finance community. Another point also, what are the environmental, that still belongs to the first one, what are the environmental and economic impacts that we also saw the health impacts, and what are the wins? Training can be a business model. What is the career opportunities for the trainees and the SMEs? How can we link the cooling to cooling finance? We saw earlier today the example of the cooling as a service model, which is brilliant, I think, in my way. So try to create also a clear value add, such as the license, naming, for example, the technician licensed sustainable cooling technician. Another project that we have is, for example, in Gambia, where we had a training program for technicians and trained the trainers for R290 hydrocarbons air conditioning. And they became, after our training, named the super technicians, which they were very proudly mentioning and showing on t-shirts and on certificates, and which means directly for them more jobs, higher rates, more money, as they are now specialized technicians. So, and following up on that, can we support the development of SMEs and not just standalone technicians? Then, as a next step, what are the skills and training that are required besides, of course, the basic rules and the basic skills that every technician, every engineer has to have? I think we have to broaden the view and really look at the design and installing the system with a maximum performance, taking into consideration refrigerant, thermodynamics, and energy efficiency. Then they have to maintain our current refrigeration and air conditioning stock and meet also the projected deployments. They have to support the implementation of minimum efficiency and performance standards, also the ultra-low GWP, natural refrigerants, and also cooling action plans, for example, if they exist in the country. They also should support the deployment of step change technology innovations, including integrated systems, hybrid systems using solar, Industry 4.0 technology, and so on. And then also, last but not least, but you can have some good savings by delivering passive and non-mechanical solutions. So all in all, this means use technologies with minimum impact on the environment in a safe and efficient way, and it will save money basically automatically. Last but not least, I have just a quick overview as just some practice examples. The slides will be, okay, wait for my last effect on how the thing comes in. The slides will be available afterwards, so I will not go into details now, but there's like these trainer schemes that we recommend, also having smartphone applications, having e-learning courses, and so on. So I thank you very much, and I look forward. Please, if you have questions, bring them along or just write me an email and check out our website. Thank you very much.
Franzi, thank you very much. Also, the animations do really make it a lot easier to see and a lot more interesting to watch. So thank you for that. Yeah, we actually got a few responses here via Q&A. You know, when you asked that question about what are some of the climate and economic impacts of
fantastic. Thank you.
You know, and people did, you know, I think they're going right along with what you were saying. There's, you know, pollution, higher energy consumption, definitely. And I think it's, you know, something that we don't really often think about is the impact that training has, not only in installation, but ongoing over the course of life of the equipment. So I think, you know, that's very interesting. And one thing I wanted to ask before we move on, because we're going to get some good perspective from our next two speakers from the Philippines. But is that sort of the idea of the Cold Chain Innovation Hub Philippines project? I mean, that's sort of going to be the resource to have people trained and increase the knowledge and the awareness of the impact of these new technologies that can be implemented in the Philippines. Is that right?
Yes, exactly, because we see also a lot of interest. And also, by the way, as we're seeing along this conference, I think it's great to see also from the end users that they are interested, the suppliers, there is the workforce, there is the energy in the country, in the Philippines, in the region, and Southeast Asia also. And I think, me being from Europe, we shouldn't always be so arrogant and think that the innovation is coming from us. No, it should come, and it comes already from the country. And I think we want to try with the Cold Chain Innovation Hub to just help to start to plant some seeds, and then it's going to thrive by its own, I'm pretty sure.